Hello, dear students, and welcome to this Toppers Talk session where we interact with UPSC toppers every year. In the month of April May, when the results of UPSC Civil Services exam are finally published, the nation is introduced to several toppers in this exam. With each topper, there is a unique story attached with him, a unique strategy, each one worth celebrating. Each one comes with its own saga of resilience, determination, challenges, and ultimate triumph. But then there are some stories which are all the more awe-inspiring, which have a lot of insights and values for aspirants who aim to crack this exam. And we are glad today that we have one such topper with us who will be, over the course of this conversation, unfolding a lot of the techniques, methods, and systems that he used to scale, to surmount this challenge and reach this position. Born in Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh, he did his schooling from his hometown, always good in his academics, sports, and extracurriculars. He had an interest in numbers and finances, went on to do his degree in commerce from Narsi Monji College, a premier college in Mumbai, and subsequently completed his CA and CFA from there. Having worked in corporate, he realized that there was something more that he could do for the nation and society, and that created the yearning to appear for civil services examination. And what started after that was a roller coaster ride, I believe, of 5 attempts, 4 mains, three interviews, and 2 selections. And throughout this journey, incrementally, step by step, he has inched closer and closer to his ultimate goal of being an IAS officer. Yes, I'm talking about Madhav Agarwal, who has secured All India rank 16 this year and has, cemented his position as a future Indian Administrative Services officer. Madhav, very warm welcome to you for this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It was a very elaborate introduction. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. Madhav, first thing that I would like you to share with the students is, when you read your name at AIR 16, Madhav Agarwal, what is the feeling that immediately, comes to you? And I'm sure a lot of students who are, dreaming, aspiring to be, top ranks, because top 20 is what everybody is obviously targeting here. So what exactly is that feeling if you could put it in words?
Sir, it was a Tuesday and we were on an ITBP attachment from the police academy. So we were actually there in Dehradun itself. So we were anticipating the results to come on Monday itself. But it stretched and it came on Tuesday afternoon. So just when the results came, I was right outside the hotel. We were about to go for lunch and everybody was shouting, result aa gaya. And then suddenly your hand shake when you open the PDF and you see your name on the first page. And I was actually numb. What just happened? Because some everybody is targeting higher ranks, but nobody is really expecting that they will actually turn up to that level. Because always in this exam you get humbled and multiple times, and you understand that there are limitations. But I think eventually the accumulative effort pays off, sir.
Wonderful. Madhav, you had made it to IPS in your previous attempts. And looking at you, you come across as that perfect specimen, if I may say, of a IPS officer, right? And having reached there after 4 attempts, there's obviously, a lot of tiredness, boredom with the entire thing. And then there is the lucrative option of skipping the attempt and going to Labatna, enjoying the cool breeze of Mussoorie. But instead, you chose to, struggle it one more time and gave a skip to the cool breeze of Mussoorie and landed in the, plains of Hyderabad. So, how difficult was that decision?
Sir, it was
A lot
actually
of students that I have known who got into IPS or IRS, they find it very difficult to overcome this, temptation. How did you do that, and what was your motivation?
sir, in the initially I was thinking whether I'll be allocated the police service or some other service. So I was not very sure. That was one factor. Other aspect was, sir, ki there is always that desire ki yaar, maybe I should give one more attempt. Maybe if I get my desired service, it would be better. So that was the idea. But so the decision making part was not very tough. Though there was my elder brother who was saying ki bhai, you've studied enough, now you should go enjoy your life, just be with friends, don't get back to your desk again. But at the same time, they were also supporting me. So after prelims and when I got into that mains phase, I think this was the toughest mains I had in the whole four mains that I have given, because I was expecting it to be easier. I've already cleared, but that itself gave me a lot of pressure in terms of, and also a lot of FOMO. My batchmates are going to felicitations, they are going to Labasana. So that was tough, but we made a good community out of the selected people and we shared our experiences there. In one of the essay sessions, we were discussing what should we do, and then there across I uh, got your recommendation from Vardha. Ki, yaar, you should try to interact with her. And when I interacted, and hence we met. So I think overall it was a very difficult, but because of the people, it I went through and sailed.
That's right. Madhav, we were connected in your last mains preparation process, and I would like to share this with students, that personal insight that saw in Madhav, that killer's instinct of increasing your marks incrementally everywhere you were fighting it out. And I could see that attention to detail and everything. And the results speak for themselves. I guess you have scored 460 odd with your general studies, and the jump is phenomenal actually. So that is something that all students must strive for. Getting that extra 1 mark in that answer actually cumulatively adds up, and then that is what catapults you to top 10, top 20 ranks. Okay, we'll get to that. But before that, I would like to know from you. You were in the number crunching business here, and then having worked in corporate and all that. So, what made you jump to civil services? Was there any moment of enlightenment, or was it a thought that was there at the back of your mind always? What was it?
Sir, initially, my parents had this idea that I should go into civil services, though there is no primary, I would say, any background in terms of anybody in my family going to services or something like that. But maybe they saw something in me which I was not able to see. Uh, so, but at that time, I was very passionate about accounting, numbers. So, and they supported me. Yeah, if you are interested in that, go ahead and do that. So, I did everything I could in that field. I had done outstation audits everywhere. I was eager to learn so that I could do better later in my profession. But sir, once my results came and that process of training which was there in Mumbai, I I was actually doing a lot of work, but I was not drawing a lot of personal satisfaction because I was cut off from the society, not really being touched in what the nation is doing. The government was doing a lot, but I was thinking what exactly I am doing for the society or the nation. So there was that gap I was feeling, some uh, some lacking control aspect with respect to what I am contributing back. So at that moment when I cleared the CA exam in 2019, I was there with my partner. I scored the highest marks in the city that year. So my partner told me, "And Madhav, you should try going to civil services." So that moment again, that like Hanumanji was reminded of his powers, I thought, yeah, CA is something that even if I start after 2 3 years, it won't really leave a pinch because you can again restart, brush up your concepts, and then practice. So I thought maybe I should give this a try. Otherwise, I'll regret later. So that's how it came up.
That's how it started. And Mother, what I have observed when toppers interact, and it's very natural, of course, and they share their experience, that is largely based on the immediate success that they've had, the last mains, the last interview. Okay. So the guidance is mainly based on how they added value, how they, garnished their stuff. And the newbie, the person who's a novice who's just beginning his preparation, that candidate tends to get a little confused because he
Yes.
gets his priority wrong, actually.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's not anybody's fault in this process, but then we must have a sense of proportion. So, as somebody who has seen this process for a very long time, what will you suggest? What should be the approach of a beginner per se?
Malab, your journey is based on a lot of different blocks that you have added, and then you see it coming through. But I think overall, I would say that if you can take some form of classes and guidance, I think that will help you set a foundation. So if that is possible with you, you can start with that. So that is where you get introduced to everything what is there in the syllabus. So that is one important thing. But again, I won't say that that is the only thing that will help you out. After that, it's your self effort and the consolidation that you do will help. So first, if you're doing the classes, you get introduced, you are covering the foundation books. I think after that, a base has been prepared. So now you have to sit back and make your own notes. That is what I believe works. So with that, I think because making notes individually, it's a lot more painful, and you might deviate sometimes. So if you are in a group of 2 or 3 people, that would be very good, especially if one of them has given mains, so it will give you a much more idea. So sir, I started with that in after my first attempt and made notes by analyzing the syllabus and the PYQs. So in the market, you will get PDFs which have UPSC PYQs categorized syllabus wise. So in the topic of say judiciary, the syllabus say judiciary structure and functions. I'm not saying the exact words,
Hmm.
but there are 4 or 5 questions that the UPSC has asked in last 10 years.
Right.
So now you understand that I have to prepare judiciary, structure and function. This is the direct thing which is given in the syllabus. So UPSC can anytime ask that. So that should be in my notes. And all the themes which UPSC has asked, uh, be it related to say All India Judicial Services, be it related to contempt of court, be it related to PIL. So these are the many themes which UPSC is focusing on. Though that should also be in my notes. So once you are done with that, I think you get a good base to start your answer writing, uh, prepare for mains better. So that will be the major consolidation effort that you should do in the initial attempt itself. But that should be after your classes, after you have read the foundational books, because otherwise you'll make a book out of a book. So the idea of sir making notes is also that because we do classes, because we read foundational books, we are reading some other expert book also. So to bring everything at one place and then revise it thoroughly. So I think that should be the primary suggestion. And apart from that, as you grow, you'll write more, you'll understand prelims better with practice and mock tests. So you'll make notes out of that also. So later, sir, the current affair is also another challenge that student faces. So initially, it's okay because you'll not understand a lot of things in the newspaper because you won't have that background. So
Right.
once you have done with your foundational stuff, then once you read the newspaper or you read any other magazine, you find relevant content from that and just add it to your notes directly. Yeah, this is, I read a article on say judiciary. The author is arguing on the both sides. It has given only one solution, but the problems it has highlighted well. So maybe I like these two problems from this whole editorial. I'll just write that problem in one line to my notes and forget about that editorial. So my notes are getting enriched day by day. And at one point, you'll realize that I have enough content for judiciary. I no longer need to read any other editorial on judiciary. So that is how your content going will be faster. So I think this should be the process. Doing your foundational classes and books, then going into preparation of your notes, and then consolidating day by day by revising it better.
Right. So knowledge, as they say, is cumulative. Okay. So step by step, you went along this process, lectures, reading the basic material, and then as and when you came across, new insights, you kept on adding it. Okay. So that's a very crucial insight. A lot of students, find the discipline of for doing this difficult. So that is the challenge actually. The exam, as I always say, there's nothing difficult per se in terms of the syllabus of the examination. The only thing is that the lateral spread is, that's something that you need to manage. So how did you manage your notes? As in, were you making physical notes or you preferred making digital notes? A lot of students have some dilemmas about that also. If you could elaborate on it.
Sir, I use this software, Quip, which is QUIP.
QUIP.
It
Okay.
is a very simple software, very minimalistic editing. So sometimes when we make digital notes, we go into changing the font of everything, then highlighting, etc. So it's very minimalistic over there. Once you set a template, your notes will be in a same template and font. So that was one good idea. And another good aspect about that is, sir, you can interlink documents, you can mention that, and you can in real time make notes with your friends in the same document. So that
Collaborate with
was
friends.
one major advantage that I had. I was making notes with my friends. So we used to decide that, Acha, this is the topic, this is the ideas we have to build in. We used to come and read our own notes. And then used to say that, Acha, I'll add points here, I'll add points here, I'll add points here, and divide. And that's how we used to make notes. So digitally, it was better, sir. if once you are in a mode of reading them, you find it better to read them physically. You can get it printed and uh, read them physically. But uh, editing, adding stuff, reducing them, it's always better to go for online mode, sir. It's easier to search also.
So you mean to say you were typing them yourselves, or was it audio to text kind
Sir,
of thing that you?
majorly I was typing it, sir.
Okay, so you're comfortable with that. But then these days, if you have an iPad, you can always write also. If
Correct, correct,
that
correct.
is more comfortable for you. Okay, you were talking about current affairs and how you need to approach that. A lot of students face this problem of understanding editorials, articles, and really figuring it out where exactly those insights have to be included, and more importantly, how they can be made interlinked with different areas. So can you throw some insight on this, how to approach editorials, articles, and how to interlink them with different issues?
So first is once you have your set notes ready and you have analyzed those themes which UPSC generally asks, एक आपका पूरा your template gets ready in terms of your notes. For example, if we discuss for international relations, you are having say country by country relations. So for that, the template that we followed was introduction of the country, or if some introductory quote I could have, then the significance of that country for India, the what are the basically engagements that we are having with that country in different fronts, then the challenges or the issues, every country relation has an issues, what are the way forward that we can take forward, and the conclusion. So this was my old template for say IR, one country. So now if I'm reading an editorial on say relation of India and Russia, so that editorial could be about how that relation is significant. That editorial could be about what are the issues in the India-Russia relationship. What are the efforts that are being taken? If it is written by a diplomat, so what are the engagements that are happening? And what are the future possibilities and scope? So each idea could go enter in some part of my notes. There could be a good starting to that editorial, which I could use in my answer. There could be some issues that could come into my issues. So that is how those contents will actually gradually come into your notes, sir. And sir, to ensure, because this process is really long, sometimes you read today, you'll find that, acha, this point is very important. And you'll be very keen to add it into your notes directly. But after a year, that point will actually fade away. So to prevent
Right.
this phenomena, sir, I used to add my points to a Telegram private channel. I used to create that. And in that, I had created hashtags. So hashtag GS3, GS3 economics. This is the point of GS3 economics. This is GS2 IR. So right after prelims, I used to open that. And if there is something relevant, I used to put into my notes. So that was my filter, because most of the times as the current affairs, they grow, sometimes we are reading about the India-Pakistan relationship being better, and suddenly there is a Pahalgam attack. So your whole approach of that theme will change. So it
Right.
is better to add it either in the notes or some other filter mechanism, sir. And second aspect was with respect to interlinkages, sir.
Right.
I think, sir, it is very important to, because if you have some, say, 10, 20 or 30 current affair items, which you can spread across all the papers. So that will reduce your burden, uh,
Correct.
remember more stuff. So
Mm.
what you can do is, while you're reading only, there you will find some points which are very good. For example, last year, sir, in the UN, I think the head said that India pulled out 800 million people out of poverty just by using smartphones.
I
So
see.
this is one line. I can
Mm,
use it
mm,
across GS 1, 2, 3, 4, sir. For example, GS 1 may we can directly use in poverty. GS2 में it is about governance again.
mm, mm.
GS3 में science and technology, the power of using smartphones for better governance. GS4 में about maybe in technological ethics. Also in terms of my essay, I can pull it off. So if you could, so we used to make this short Excel, and we used to put down the items which we find are can be used at multiple places. And then we used to brainstorm, acha, where can I use this in GS1? Maybe in society, maybe in some parts of geography, etc. So human geography. So once you brainstorm that, you automatically try to develop interlinkages.
But that's right, Mother. But one thing that comes to my mind is it is one thing to build up all this content, and then quite another to actually reflect it in that exam situation, that pressure situation, where you have 7 odd minutes for a 10 marker and 11 odd minutes for a 15 marker. So how do you ensure that translation? Okay, how do you manage your information in such a manner that you get more bang for the buck, as they say? You fully optimize your.
Sir, this was also part of my learning itself, sir. For example, earlier in my initial attempt, because of lack of time, I was not really getting time to read the mock test answers or the topper copies of that test. So I was not really improving, but I was actually repeating whatever I was doing. So no different result was actually coming out of it. So once I wrote my test, I sat down with the mock test answer, the topper copy. I tried to reflect, acha, what point the topper has written, but I could not think of. So maybe there is some issue with the framework that I'm using to interpret that theme for example, if we are thinking just in pastel, but the governance framework required some other ideas. So I used to pick that and develop my own frameworks. And sir, in that framework only, I got to learn that toppers are not actually writing very differently. They are just able to produce their content on those 2 pages. So never you'll find a topper copy and you'll say, "Acha, ye to mujhe samajh hi nahi aa raha. I never understood this, or I never knew this point." So it is always about putting that point into the paper. So that is where, sir, that ABCD framework that I developed, ki, with respect to what different I can do, what alag can I do in this answer. B is with respect to what the best practice that I can bring into it. C is with respect to the current affair dimension. D is the diagrams, other dimensions. So once you sit down with a question and you think, acha, what are the current affairs that I can think of in this question, automatically you'll have one or two good points that you can add, either as an example or either as a starting point to your answer, either as a prospective, futuristic conclusion if you want to give it. So it's just about brainstorming in those initial 10-15 seconds before you start.
Uh, a flip side sometimes is that a lot of students, plan their content in advance, so they are premeditated. And then, irrespective of the slant that the question has, they tend to, fire whatever they know. Okay, so how
Hmm.
can somebody, stay away from that temptation and avoid making this mistake?
I think, sir, it is a natural tendency because we are writing 20 questions in 3 hours, then we have to give 5 papers in 3 days. So naturally, we see that sometimes our pen is writing and our mind has just switched off.
Right.
So that should, malab, that is natural, but we have to control it. So, sir, when you, it is very obvious because you try to blabber out what you want to write. But when you read the question, I think reading the question 1 or 2 times is 1 or 2 or 3 times, if it is not a very direct question, to understand, acha, what is the demand of this question? What is the final word? What is the UPSC asking? Why is the UPSC asking? How? When? What exactly is the demand of the question? If you just focus on that, and within your content you'll have to prioritize your points which answer the demand first, and then you can of course write generic points which cater to the theme but not exactly the demand, so to fill the pages if that is a case. So uh, and that you'll also realize that when you look at your own copies, you realize, acha yaar, why have I written this first point? This point should not have been the first point.
Right.
Some solutions, sir, I discussed that first point is, right, increase awareness, do IEC
Mm.
campaign. That is important, but maybe you should have something more practical, specific to that topic, which should come first.
Yes.
And that's the way you prioritize.
Right. So generally, what happens is once the student sees the question, then it's just a race about, in whatever order, whatever points I can fire, I just fire those points and get it done. You have a sense of, completion. My task is done. But then that is not the optimum way of, doing it. A proper structure, a
Yeah.
flow of ideas, will ensure that you get or fetch some extra marks over the competition. Madhav, GS2 and 3 are particularly tricky papers. On the face of it, the questions seem very gettable, doable, but then the marks don't translate. Okay, so you've done well with these papers over the years. So what do you think are the insights that students must remember, especially with GS paper 3, given the scores that have been there this year? What do you think fetches good marks in this paper?
Sir, I think GS3 is a very diverse subject and very interesting to write also, because every 2 or 3 questions you are switching a subject. So
Correct. Yeah.
a different theme, and that could also become a challenge for you sometimes. So with practice, that will improve definitely. But if,
Mm.
sir, there are 5, 6 odd subjects in GS3 paper. So economics, geography, disaster management, science, in environment. These are the major areas. So, sir, what you have to try, one of the 2, 3 common themes that you have to remember in GS3 is you have to make your answers very dense, sir. Multiple points and multiple dimensions you have to open up. So if there is a question on, uh, say, significance of renewable energy for India, is it good for the economy and environment? Explain. So that is the question. The
Right.
major part of your question will focus on explaining that yes, it is good for the environment, yes, it is good for the economy. But at the end, if it's a 3-page, 15 mark question, the last half of the third page, after the 2.5 page, you have to add 3, 4 challenges very short in 3, 3, 4, 4 words. To show the examiner that this is also a dimension that is important, which will affect the significance, and at the end give some solutions and a futuristic conclusion. So sometimes you will have to add dimensions in the GS3 paper specifically. And within those dimensions, try to be short in terms of putting your points and try to give more number of points there. GS3. And this also helps in GS2. So that is one common theme, sir. And another aspect is with respect to schemes, committees, and SDGs. If you could include these in your answers very richly, I think that will help you out and will actually reduce your burden of developing good conclusions or way forward. So I developed, sir, 50, 60 committees, short recommendations of 2, 3 recommendations of sometimes major theme of that committee itself, you could put it there as a solution. And again, sit back with Vipul, sir. You must remember him. We
Yeah,
did
yeah.
together. So I sit
Mm.
back. Sat with Vipul, and we used to decide that "Achha, this committee can come in which areas of the GS. So not just that direct theme, but where exactly it can come. So there is a committee on tribal. It could come on tribal. It would come in Naxal problems, which is associated with tribals. It could
Correct.
come in
Interconnected.
the local self-governance of tribals. It could come in health and education of tribals. So if you could use that single committee again, that will really help you out. Apart from that, sir, your papers, especially economics and agriculture, those should look like economics and agriculture. So if you could bring some graphs, if you could bring some very short charts, simple bar diagrams. In 1991, mein this was the situation. 2014, mein this is the situation. Current, this is the situation. Basic. So the data itself, you don't have to hunt new data for creating graphs. Just when you're reading your notes, you find that these are the two comparative points. Exports for this, now they are this. Forex was this, now they are this. If I'm comparing India's growth with the world, I could make a bigger circle showing that India is growing at 6%. The world is growing at half the pace, so it is growing at 3%. So
Right.
the pictographically you
Sharpness enhances.
demonstrate more. Same goes
Correct.
with disaster management. You can create diagrams, you can create graphs, and with very simple instincts also you can think of on that spot also. Some content will be prepared before, but sometimes on that time framework also you can think of some good dimensions. I think these are the major takeaways with respect to GS3, sir.
A lot of aspirants have, a data-heavy approach, but many new aspirants feel that it is difficult to remember so much of data, and they
Hmm.
have the problem with this. So, do you think practically it is possible to score well in GS paper 3, even if you are like having, not a very data-heavy kind of answer?
Sir, I think it is important to write data, sir.
Acha.
And that can be learned with practice. So that should not be a challenge that should stop you. But sir, for example, I saw the copies of my batchmates who had written similar tests that I had done. I was reading and I was realizing that while I was thinking I was writing a lot of data, but when I saw others' copies, I saw that they are writing maybe 5x than I am. So there was
Okay.
that gap that I realized that GS3 may I'll have to put in a lot of data, and sometimes very in sometimes when it is not even required. For example, if we're talking about exports, uh, for example, with this scheme, the exports will increase. Put it in the bracket, acha, our exports are say 800 billion. If you're talking about forex, put it in the bracket, our forex is 650 billion, something like that. So sometimes it's not even required at that point, but just to show the examiner that acha, I know this data. Uh,
Right.
and sir, for remembering data, again, practicing with my friend helped me. So while we used to reflect what is the data that we can actually remember out of that. So sometimes you develop patterns in that,
Right.
you develop some funny mnemonics,
Mnemonics.
and
Yes.
then you frame questions around that data, sir. So to
Okay.
rather based on the mechanism of active recalling. So
Mm-hmm.
you are reading your data, you develop short questions. Acha, what is the employment rate? What was it back then? Now, what? How much has it increased now? What are the exports compared to that? Environmentally, how much the sea level has increased compared to the previous century? So you should develop short questions, and then you, whenever you are free, uh, you want to take a break, just pick those questions and try to recall. Acha, this was maybe 25. This was something like that. And if you're not able to recall, just mark them out and then go back to your notes. So that's how gradually you will remember more.
And that's a suggestion that is valid across everything, active recall. A lot of students,
Exactly.
don't practice that, and that is why, despite a lot of effort that they put in, the output ratio is
Yes,
not, that great. A lot of students, like to use templates, different templates for different answers. So, did you, by any chance, develop any templates of yours for answer writing of different subjects? And are they really helpful? What is your take on it?
sir, some sort of templates really helps your burden at the time of brainstorming the question, and develop different dimensions to analyze the topic, because you could get questions which you might not have encountered before. But if you, with that template, you can really do well. For example, in governance, a basic template that I used to use was that basic definition of governance is it involves design, implementation, and monitoring of the governance aspects. So DIM was my framework: design, implementation, and monitoring. These are the three steps which will be there in any governance mechanism if I have to analyze. Other aspect is the three pillars: government, private and profit sector, and the civil services and the NGOs. These are the three: state, civil services, NGOs, and the profit sectors. These are the three aspects. And then there is a good governance K 8 attributes which are given by the UN. So I had a small short form for that. So if there is any question on governance which I don't have content about, I'll try to break it up into this aspect. So what say the question comes, the government is not doing census since a long time. How do you think it is affecting the governance framework of our country? So I can
Hmm.
think about, acha, what are it is affecting the designing of the new policies,
New policies and schemes.
implementation of the existing policies. How are we monitoring the performance of the policies if the people have increased? Are we really beating the targets that we have set? Same goes for private sector, has to have a demographic composition to plan their products, their services. Same goes for NGOs. What is the target sector? Yeah. Are they actually working for the vulnerable sector in that hotspot? Uh, then again, the benefits could be based on accountability mechanisms, which we draw from the good governance values: accountability, participation, transparency. So if you could bring all these together, I think we can easily form a two-pager answer.
Was a good answer for that. Yes, just like you mentioned, DIM in the class, I share this acronym of World Bank Good Governance Formula.
Like,
The
correct.
attributes that they say, I call it carpet. I mean, just mnemonic working
Yeah,
out. So
yeah, yeah.
C for
Mine was
car,
also similar, sir. We carpet.
similar.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. So that really definitely helps. And coming to GS paper 4 now, ethics paper is a paper which has, high output to input ratio, but then it still needs some very good insights to translate your effort into marks. The paper is lengthy typically, and also the strategy in the exam hall is crucial. So how do you think GS paper 4, should be approached?
Sir, in GS paper 4, in the earlier, I think 2018-19, at that time, even if you had a basic example document prepared, some quotes on the topics of the syllabus, I think you were scoring very good marks back then. But now the game has actually leveled up. And with the tougher paper that we have seen in 2022, 2023, the longer, heavier questions. Uh, so particularly with me, I think I was good in applications. So if there is a theme in the paper, I could break it down and apply my concepts and bring out a good answer. But sometimes when there was a very simple question with respect to a concept, uh, I was not able to bring in very good points. The points which were coming up was very repetitive. So I took a help of mentor sir, Piyush sir, and with that sir, my ethics, interlinkages, structures, and applying my concepts, it became better, sir. I was much more confident, and uh, I really understood the concepts to the depth. So I used particular words at particular places. For codes-based question, I think we can take them as mini essays only, sir. The same framework that we use for essays. Similar to that, some aspects we can take here and there and form our two-pager on the codes. That really helped me pull off ethics.
Right. So last year, we were connected for essay preparation, and we did a intensive crash course also. You wrote, a few essays back then, and those were shaping up very well. What were the, takeaways, insights that you would like to share from your, essay-related preparation?
Sir, I think essay has been my Achilles heel from since the beginning. I was scoring less and less in terms of my marks, and there was, I think that if you could score very good in this paper, you could really create a bunch of a difference compared to your other aspirants. So I think you should really focus on this paper, and with that approach, with the recommendation of Vardha, I came to you and I was like, sir, मेरे से interpret नहीं हो रहा है topic. I'm not able to develop good arguments. What should I do? And you were like, अच्छा, do this course and then we'll gradually develop the frameworks and everything. So I think, sir, it was six videos, 6 and 8, six.
6 sessions, yes, correct.
Six session, and in the first 2 sessions only, I learned a lot, many frameworks that we are using, 20 paragraph structure that we had formed with respect to introduction, body, and the conclusion. For developing the arguments, we had that ACER framework, arguments,
Right.
evidence, and then reasoning. So short learning, sir. I think without that course, I would not have been able to score good marks in essay. And the anxiety that was killing me in my toughest mains this time would have multiplied further. So the course was very well structured, and uh, the other aspect also was with respect to, sir, the brainstorming framework that we had. So our page idea was also settled. Acha, we have to write this here, this here. So it was neat and tidy, easy to replicate. Uh, then developing arguments was there, structuring. So it was understanding that it is actually an organic flow, particularly.
Right.
So the crash course really guides you to a step-by-step approach to writing an essay. So you cannot just end up writing an essay without first understanding how to break that topic into different poles. What is the relationship between those words? Then writing a thesis statement, then developing your arguments, then brainstorming your content and actually putting all those in place. What should be the conclusion template? How it can be summarizing, then futuristic, bringing in those aspects. So overall, I think it was a very structured framework, sir. And then we understood, went back, applied those in tests. You were personally evaluating those tests, sir. So getting feedback directly from you, whatever doubts we had, we could again get back to you. So overall, I think it was a very good experience. And I've already recommended your course to a lot of people.
Yeah, quite a few have reached out from your batch, from IPS and other services also. So Madhav, although prelims is behind us, but nevertheless, the video is always there for posterity,
Right.
and the insights that you've had from prelims, those will also be greatly valuable for aspirants. And given that you have cracked prelims 4 times, the diciest of the stages in this exam, I would say, is prelims. And no matter what your level of preparation, you are always underconfident when it comes to prelims. And I remember you mentioning the first prelims was even that was missed by a whisker. So we can very well count it as 5 out of 5 if we can. So what what do you think should be the approach for prelims? As in, of course, everybody prepares, but what is it that different needs to be done to ensure that you are relatively safe at least?
Uh, Sir, I think after you have done your foundation, your books and everything, you have to you have to understand that prelims, because it is actually an eliminating round,
Hmm.
there will be questions which you would not have maybe heard about directly, or you're not really sure of the exact concept within that. So first you have to understand that there is that limitation. After my first mains, I realized ki even if I would have read for 2 more months for this exam, I would not have read what the questions that come to that.
Right.
Uh, the question that year came was about pulses. So which pulse is more than which pulse? Red gram is more, this is more, that is more. So till now, I have not read about it.
Right.
So you'll have to be, so it's a mental game. First, you have to understand that, and you can not know everything.
Correct.
There is that limitation that also you'll have to accept. So
Right.
with that, you will have to first analyze the PYQs and identify the themes which are there in the PYQs and prepare according to that. So you would have read your foundation books, you would have read your classes notes, everything. But if they are not able to not facilitating you to answer those PYQs, then they are not enough. You'll have to identify. For example, if you have read about soils in geography, but you're not able to answer the question which the UPSC is asking. So you analyze, Acha, these are the 5-6 questions UPSC asked on soils. UPSC generally asking is the chemical composition, where are they located, etc. So you break that down and you just make your one pager about soils ka theme from your notes and maybe some Google search, and you develop a pattern. That's how you do it. So that is where your themes will get prepared. Uh, Major aspects will be done with your notes only. So you identify a theme, then you give your tests, mock tests from the market, and then you read the content, the answers as well. So after the class, my major learning has been from the notes itself. So my clarity on the concepts, because in the MCQs you have to be very
Correct.
precise about your knowledge.
Correct.
So with that you have developed clarity. Acha, in the book I was maybe not interpreting it well, but now I've learned it. So you note that down. You're learning one line, two liner. That's it. Not a lot of content from that model answer. So you take time in that and focus more on the UPSC themes, PYQ themes in the mock test. So the coaching also has to develop, say, 3,000, 4,000 questions every year. So sometimes they also deviate. So, but
Right.
you
Right.
keep in mind that actually, these are the major UPSC themes that uh, uh, they might be asked. So if there is a question related to that theme, I'll be very particular. I'll try to figure out more stuff from that. But if something is very, say, random, you might draw your learnings from that and just move on. So don't try to remember everything even from the test. In the initial attempts, I started to prepare for the coaching only. How does the coaching
Hmm.
form question? Because you're again and again giving those tests. So
Right. Correct.
uh, I think this is one aspect, sir. So analyzing the PYQs, then developing themes, making your notes from the tests. I think that is a big major learning. So in 2020, I made notes 21, 22. So all these notes were there with me for the future attempts also. So I used, and they were filled with my mistakes only. So they were very particular about me. So I used to revise them very quickly and then give my prelims better. And then CSAT, sir, CSAT is becoming a big trouble. In the initial days, I had just given a few PYQ papers and I was scoring around 100. So I did not do much about CSAT. But that year, my one of my friend, which I was preparing with, failed in CSAT. So he passed GS. I passed CSAT, but I failed in GS. That first prelims, 0.6 was.
First one. Okay.
So that year he was very serious with respect to preparing for CSAT. So what I did was, my way of preparing was in the 3-4 months that we get to prepare for prelims, every week, every Sunday I'll give one CSAT test, full 2 hours I'll take. Because that grill is also important. You can do that question in 5 minutes, but you have to do it in 1 minute very faster. So
Mhm.
and with accuracy. So I should do that. Then sit back and reflect. Acha, these are the areas maybe I'm not able to figure out, and maybe go to YouTube and search it out and make my own short notes about that. But now I see that if you're facing any issue and taking some external help from any guidance or mentorship from the coaching also, you should not shy away from that, because spoiling your attempt just for CSAT would be very silly.
Yeah, that's right. And when you approach the paper, there are two conventional ways of doing it. Some people prefer to do it in two, sometimes three rounds. And then there's another way is that, you at a time and that's the end of it. So, what strategy did you use for your prelims?
Sir, mine was solving in 3 iterations. Third was very short. It was for
Correct.
namesake only. But the first and the second were the major ones. In the first iteration, I used to filter out questions. Acha, if I know 100%, I'm not using the OMR sheet in my first round. It is kept aside. In the first, it's only about the question paper. So if I'm sure, I'll just mark the question. If I'm unsure and I can eliminate two or at least one statement, I'll mark a circle on the question number. This is the second category, and the third category could be मेरे को इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं पता है इस क्वेश्चन के बारे में, and reading again this question will itself be a waste of time. So I used to
Hmm.
cross that question. So
Hmm.
at the end, I used to quickly count down. Acha, these are my circles and these are my squares. So roughly maybe 30-40 questions I'm relatively sure about. So that
Okay.
way, it also helped me gauge the difficulty of the paper. And I
And
used to
typically, what is the time that you required for this first round?
sir, major chunk, sir. Maybe I'll not be able to say very exactly.
A
One,
tentative.
so it will be around, sir, 80, 85. Matlab more than an hour, because even if you're spending 1 minute on every question, sometimes it will be a very direct question, you just mark it off, but 1 minute will add up to at least 90 minutes. So 85, 90 would be the 80, I think 80, 85 minutes. And then, sir, in my second round, I used to pick up the OMR sheet. Then I used to start. Acha, first question, I am 100% sure. I used to mark it, not reading
Okay.
it again, just
Acha.
seeing the option and marking it. Second question,
Okay.
I used to read, Acha, this is the circle question. I have to take an attempt in this question.
Hmm.
Uh, say B and C. My educated guess is say B. I'll just mark it off. In
Okay.
again, I could come.
Okay, so once you do elimination, and a lot of questions are designed that way, a serious aspirant is able to eliminate two options, but then it still leaves you with a dilemma C and D, and sometimes you don't get any hunch or any clue whether it is C or D. In such cases, what is your approach? When you have absolutely no clue, it could be either. So do you go with it, or you rather skip that?
Sir, it will actually depend on my strength areas also.
Okay.
If it's polity, economy, or maybe something around those areas, I'll take
Hmm.
a guess. But if it is about history or something, the area which I'm not very strong in, maybe I'll take a step back. Because, sir, this paper is, in the initial attempt, I used to attempt around 78, 80, but it later increased to 85 plus. So, uh, the paper solving in iterations is basically about finding out the 15 questions that I don't want to attempt.
Hmm.
So it's getting a filtered mechanism. Acha, this is the least riskier I've attempt. Now, at the third iteration, you'll be left with 20 odd questions, 20, 22 questions. From that, you'll have to pick up 5 questions, because it's a negative mark exam also. So you have to minimize your risk. And that is how this solving in iterations really help you out. And sir, it is also a fact that after 40, 45 questions, you'll not know other 55 questions with 100% accuracy. So you have to have a broad mindset. You have to take your knowledge that
Chances.
you have and apply it. Uh,
Right.
and with that only, you'll be creating an edge, because that's how the exam is designed, I think. You'll not know everything.
And that's correct. And a lot of times, when you're taking multiple attempts, sometimes you're there at the interview stage, sometimes you do not get the interview call, so you spend a lot of time with your mains, so you get less time for prelims. So typically, what should be the minimum duration that you need to spend for prelims preparation?
Sir, sir, in my final attempts, like in my fourth attempt, I hardly got time, because I gave an interview in my third attempt. I failed at the interview stage. I was not really reading a lot after my interview. I was expecting a result hoga, we'll see, and then we'll decide what will I get. So I wasted a lot of time there, which ideally one should not do. But just when the results came, it was 3, 4 days time. I had just used my accumulated knowledge and gave that a time. But in a general time framework, if I get, sir, I think uh, I boiled down to 60 days, but I think 90-day framework is very good, sir, to prepare for prelims. And in my 60-day framework, 10 days was for last revision, and 40 and
Hmm.
20 days was roughly for two revisions. So 35 to 40 days and 20 to 25 days. So that's how I used to divide. I'll do my first reading, I'll solve my sectional test in 40 days. And in the second half, I'll give another reading, maybe based on active recalling, maybe specific to those themes, because you'll not be able to revise everything again. So you mark in the first round itself that, acha, these are the major areas I have to revise in my second attempt, second revision. So that's how you reduce your time to 50-60%. So this was my ideal time of preparation, sir. And then you divide within the 40 days. Acha, 5 days I have to give to polity, 5 days I have to give to economics. Acha, within those 5 days, again you boil it down. Acha, one day maybe 3 days I'll take for Lakshmikant. One day 2 days I'll take for test. This is how you divide it and then go ahead.
Talking lastly about interview stage, the one
Yes.
that you can do least about actually, and you happen to score very well in your last two interviews. So, what worked for you, and overall, what will you suggest in terms of strategy? What should students do who are expecting a call for interview or who are actually appearing for it? Very briefly.
I think again, in interview, what happens is in my first interview, what I did was I was running after content because I was thinking, Acha, UPSC board might ask me this, might ask me that. And I had read all DAF and the areas which were there. But in the actual interview, what happened was I was not able to answer the most obvious question around my DAF because I had not practiced them well. So you spread across very thinly. I think that is not a good approach you should do. You identify the key areas of your DAF. And then from that also, I think you should have at least say, from my DAF, these are the most for 25 expected questions. इसका मेरा ये आंसर रहेगा. I've thought about it. I've brainstormed it. I've actually internalized it. So वो बहुत अच्छे naturally आना चाहिए. Because sir, if I'm played hockey at the states
Right.
level, and they ask me, Acha, what are the challenges hockey? What are the proposed solution that you have to bring? That answer should be very good.
Right.
Apart from asking, Acha, who won the last World Cup? That is very scattered. Even if I don't know it, it's okay. But the
It doesn't
first
matter.
should be good. I think this is one, sir. Second is revising your static content before the interview really puts you in putting out good points. Because in mains, what happens is you can write 2 pages about a topic, but there you have to speak, say 3, 4 good arguments. So
Right.
for that, you should have at least 5, 6, 8 points in your head, and best 4 should come out. If you don't revise,
Noted that.
what happened with me in my first interview was I was remembering only 2, 3 points, and I just blabbered them. Ki, Acha, sir, this is what I can recall. So revising static helps. And third is, sir, being don't be very cryptic while answering your questions. Sir. Be expressive. Uh, uh, just deliver your point well, articulate it well, but don't beat around the bush, of course, but don't hold back any information that you think is relevant to the topic and give it. So in my last 2 interviews, sir, there was a discussion on NAM, and I had some quote in my mind which Pandit Nehru has used it. I was reading that in my mains at that. So it suddenly came into my mind and I delivered it in front of the board. Sir, that is how Pandit Nehru used to put it up. So they resonated with that. In my last interview, sir, we were discussing something about corruption. And like you are a fan of couplets, one of the couplet came to my mind at that time. I took the permission of the board, sir. This is how I think we should tackle the problem of corruption. So I did not
By
hold.
any chance you recollect that couplet right
Yes,
now?
sir.
By
Yeah,
any chance you recollect that couplet right
yeah, sir.
now?
Actually, it is very good, and I realized I actually had internalized it. So that's why
Okay.
bring it out. So the topic was how can we reduce corruption despite the fact that a lot of schemes the government has brought up, but still it's not being reduced to some extent. So I started with we have to use technology, everything. I explained it. So it was going on a police centric theme. Then suddenly said there is this couplet. It says that दिखाई नहीं देते बुनियाद के पत्थर जमीन में जो
Okay.
धस गए इमारत उन्हीं पे कायम है. So I put across these
बहुत खूबसूरत.
and I said that, sir, the honest officers in India and in our
Hmm.
country are actually the foundation of our country,
Hmm. Right.
because of which the country is running. But what is happening is they are actually within the foundation only, they are not being seen. So it is very important that we reward them, we recognize them, and we bring them to the front. Because whenever you will talk to a civilian, they'll know 10 corrupt officers in their locality, but they'll not be able to name one honest, good officer in the field which they are related. So that is where I use that couplet to express my feeling that it is very important to reward the honest officers. And then they ask me, "Acha, how will you do it? You might not have the money to do it at all times." And he said it's not always about money also. So if I'm the SP of a district, if one of my say head constables is doing a good job, if I could call his family to for a dinner at my place, I think that will only bring the esteem needs and recognize his the effort that he has put in, and he'll be very motivated to serve again. So it's that is how it went through. So I think expressing yourself overall is a very good idea, and smile more if you can in that situation. For that, I think when you come across as more smiling, you are more appealing, you're more approachable rather than just being very serious. They also don't want to see a serious face. Nobody wants to.
Exactly.
So that,
And having interviewed 2,500 people
yeah,
overall, it's so difficult. And you come across a frowning person, terrified person. Naturally, they're also human beings, and they would love to have a good human interaction over there. And smile is something that adds value very easily to whatever you have to say. One last question about interview, I'll just want you to share some light on. A lot of aspirants tell that they are getting the guidance that on opinionated questions, you try to be very diplomatic, try to be very balanced, and don't take a stand. These kind of advices are heard. What is your view or take on that? And because most of the questions interview will obviously be around your view, your take, your opinion. So how do you go about that?
there is at least one side you should put across as. In essays also, sir, there is always two sides to a topic. But we choose one side and then we put out across our arguments. And then in the end, we are saying, Acha, this is the antithesis. But our rebuttal is also there. Ki, Acha, but still, this is important and we can fix it up. So I think it's
Right.
better to acknowledge and take a side. You should take a side and then acknowledge the problems also in the other aspect, because if there is a gray area, there are arguments on both the sides. But you take your stand,
Both the
you
sides.
show it with conviction, and also acknowledge, Acha, sir, but these are some problems which can be solved. If they want you to give solutions, they'll ask you to do it.
Right, right. So basically, what we discussed in essay, that is the same
Correct,
approach
correct.
for any
I think it's always
opinion-related
better. Yes.
opinion-related question. Okay. Any last advice that you would like to share with aspirants? Something that is distilled over all these years of your preparation.
Uh,
One final word.
I think, sir, don't let your monkey mind or the self doubt take control of your preparation. You'll face self doubts. You'll see, because you'll be comparing yourself to someone who has put in 2 3 years into this preparation. If you'll see my copies now, you'll see, "Acha, how will I reach that level?" I also used to see that, but gradually, when you learn, improve, you'll reach to that level. And during this, I think taking care of your mental and physical health is also very important, sir. Everything else you'll do, you'll get guidance, you'll work hard, but don't forget your physical and mental health. If you could practice some meditation, do some quick exercises, maybe just 30 minutes during a day, it will really help you out in a long run.
Wonderful. Mind manifests, dear students, whatever you sow that over the period of time, that is actually what is designed into your reality. So it's very crucial that your self-talk is positive. You always have your self-belief. Be connected with your mentors, with your gurus from different fields, and they will help that your positivity inside you, that remains intact, because the world around you is always going to try to beat you down, and it is your duty that you keep that positivity intact. On
Yes.
that note, we'll close this wonderful interaction with Madhav Agarwal today. Madhav, it was wonderful talking to you. All the
Thank you.
insights that you have shared, I'm sure these will immensely benefit all the aspirants. We wish you all the best for future. And as I've told you earlier also, I'm sure you'll make a very fine officer. And we would love to see how your career, pans out, the kind of initiatives that you take. On that note, I'll take a leave of Madhav and all the aspirants. Thank you very much for joining. And by the way, Madhav has committed. I know he's very busy these days, but he has committed that he will be coming to our offline center in Pune also. So we'll be having an offline interaction with students very soon. So stay tuned for the announcement that is coming. That is coming up very soon. So Madhav, I've got you committed on camera now. So now you cannot backtrack. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Madhav. That was just on a lighter note. Good day to all of you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So Madhav, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful interacting with you, connecting, and
Yeah.
I would love to meet you in person also.
Yes, yes, sir, definitely. I'm also looking forward to it. In some days, sir, we'll fix it up if we can do it in the coming month.
Yes, and I perfectly understand it's very busy. So अगर आप कहीं कोई अगर वो बहुत ज़्यादा stretch हो रहा है तो I mean don't be under any pressure or burden or
There is
anything.
no pressure, sir. I am also grateful for your effort that you have put into my journey. So मेरा भी सर एक ड्यूटी बनता है to come and do it, sir. But वही थोड़ा सा इसको टाइम लाइन सेट करके I'll figure it out, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. My best regards to you and your family. Please convey my. And I happened to see an interview of your mother. It was from last year's after last year's selection. और मुझे उसके अंदर का एक वो इवेंट बहुत अच्छा लगा. उन्होंने एक बात बताई थी कि ये माधव जब छोटा था तो वो अपनी टीचर से जो है वो जाके फाइट करता था वो एक एक नंबर के लिए. और मुझे वही चीज जो मैं आपको इन अदर वर्ड्स में किलर इंस्टिंक्ट जो मैं कहता रहा ना कि वो एक आपका जो फाइट है कि भाई हाँ इंक्रीमेंटली वो करना है. So that's a trait, that's a personality trait that you have, and this is, this will serve you very well in the long run also.
Thank you so much.
Chaliye, thank you so much. Good day to you. Bye bye.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.